Now, they are one of the most effective hunters in the entire world. And when hunting, they are going to work together as a team to out-endure their prey. And they get their name because of the brown, black, and white splotchiness of their coats. Now, as we head on forward here, I spot a couple more animals to this left-hand side. Now, we're going to first see some Hartman mountain zebra. Hartman mountain zebra are the only species of zebra that possess something known as a dewlap. A dewlap's a flap of skin that hangs down from the underside of their neck, helps them to regulate their overall body temperature. There are also those Patterson's eland, the light brown animals with the horns. Both male and female eland have horns. Males are larger in size. Eland are one of the largest species of antelope, and then there are the Ankole cattle, the brown and white speckled animals with a large set of horns. Ankole are also known as Watusi cattle because of the Watusi tribe who first domesticated them. Though they are domesticated, they are not used for meat. They have instead been used as a wealth or a status symbol. Lastly, there are those sable antelope, the dark brown animals with the curved horns. Sable are a territorial species of antelope. They utilize those curved horns as a means of defending themselves against predators. If a predator were to try to jump on the sable's back, the sable can knock its head back and that predator is then deterred. Now to the left again, we're going to be seeing some of these Maasai giraffe. Now giraffe, they are those browsers. They eat the leaves off the trees. They do that by using their long, prehensile tongues. Now these Maasai giraffe are going to get between 18 and 20 feet tall. They are pretty tall from birth as well. A newborn giraffe is going to already be about 6 feet tall. You might have noticed how the edges of their spots were blurred or jagged. That's a fantastic way to differentiate between species of giraffe. Maasai giraffe like these have blurred or jagged edges to their spots. Other species might have crisp or clean edges to their spots. Now, Maasai giraffe have a pretty interesting sleep pattern. They only sleep for about 30 minutes each day. And they do take several short naps that add up to account for that total 30 minutes. Those giraffe will also spend up to 20 hours each day eating. As we continue on heading forward here, way out to the right, I spot a bunch of wildebeest. They're up this hill here. Now those wildebeest, they are a herd animal. That means they like to be found in large groups. Now, wildebeest are also a migratory species. That means they're going to travel great distances all together out there in the wild. And when they do, it's known as the Great Migration. During that Great Migration, approximately 1.5 million wildebeest are going to travel between 500 and 1,000 miles in a loop through the savannas of Tanzania and Kenya. As you continue on heading forward here, hopefully we'll spot some more animals in just a little bit. Now, tucked out there to the right behind that tree is an African elephant. Now, African elephants are those bulldozers. They are going to knock down trees to consume their leaves. That's not the only way in which they can feed themselves, though. They can also use their trunks to grab greenery that is within reach. Now, maybe as we continue on heading forward, we'll get another view of that African elephant. Now, African elephants are found in a couple of different groupings out there in the wild. And it is those groupings that are going to tell us a lot about the elephants within them. Now, in particular, one of those groupings is a herd. A herd is a large group of elephants made up of predominantly female and children elephants. Herds are characterized by elephants of varying sizes. Another one of those groupings is a solitary elephant, or an elephant all by itself. Solitary elephants are generally those male elephants. A male elephant baobab tree's trunk. That the baobab tree has earned the nickname the Tree of Life. Another nickname for these baobab trees is the upside down tree, due to the fact that their branches look a lot like most other trees' root systems. Looks like there's some more African elephants out there to the left. Hopefully we'll get a better view as we continue on heading forward. Now these African elephants do have pretty sensitive skin, and that requires them to protect it from the harsh sun. Now one way they are going to protect it is by throwing dry dust, dirt, and debris onto their heads, shoulders, and backs. That's not the only way they can protect their sensitive skin though. They can also utilize something known as a mud wallow. A mud wallow is a shallow hole in the ground filled with mud, dirt, and water. Those elephants are going to roll around in it, coating their skin. They let it harden and dry, and it creates a nice protective barrier, almost like a natural sunscreen of sorts. Now it does generally get pretty hot out here in the savannah as well, requiring those elephants to have ways to keep themselves cool. One way they'll keep themselves cool is by flapping their ears back and forth. Not only does that provide a gentle breeze along their sides, it helps them to regulate their overall body temperature. Now to the left here are several greater flamingo. Greater flamingo are the largest species of flamingo, as well as the lightest in color. When a flamingo is hatched, they are not hatched the pink color we know them for, but a gray. It does take about 2 years for that pink color to develop, and it develops through the consumption of something called beta-carotene. The beta-carotene is found in things like shrimp and algae. Now flamingos don't migrate, they stay in the same place year-round. When they do travel, it's to find a better water source. Here out to the left-hand side is going to be an orange hole with some greenish water, an example of that mud wallow I mentioned. Now the African elephant is not the only species of animal that will utilize a mud wallow to protect their sensitive skin. In fact, the black rhino we saw briefly back there in the forest, and those white rhino out here to the left will utilize those mud wallows as well. These white rhino, they get their name from the Afrikaans word weit. Now weit is spelled W-I-T, and it means wide, not white. It's a reference to the broad, square-shaped mouths these white rhinos have. Now, white rhinos, they are incredibly social creatures, and they do like to be found in large family groups. Those family groups can get as large as a dozen white rhino.
You can see his eyeballs.
White rhinos can get up to about 5,000 pounds, making them one of the larger species of rhino. And then out here to the left is a cheetah. You'll see her moving around out there. Now those cheetahs, they can get up to about 60 miles an hour in as little as 3 seconds. They cannot maintain that speed for very long though, only several hundred yards. Now these cheetahs, they do make a couple of different noises. The two that we are most likely to recognize are going to be a purr or a chirp. Another one out there to the left. Now think of a chirp as sounding similar to the short, high-pitched noise you might have heard a house cat make. Cheetahs are the only big cats that can purr. Now cheetahs have a long, flexible tail they use to balance when running at 60 miles an hour. As we head on forward here up to the left-hand side is a rock formation known as a kopie. Kopies are sometimes utilized by predator or prey animals as a means of surveying that savanna around them. We might be able to see some animals up there today. Now I don't know if we'll be seeing anything out there to the left, but it looks like out here to the right are some water buck. I see 3 of them here. Now water buck are these shaggy brown animals. Now they have a greasy excretion that comes from their fur. It helps them to be waterproof. Not only that, the scent of it helps them to deter predators. Now those are going to be female female water buck, and I know that because they do not have horns. Only those male water buck are going to have horns. Now, water buck are another one of those species that's not going to migrate, but instead hang out at the same water source all of the time. Now, coming up here to the left, I see a couple of burrows, these shallow holes in the ground. Burrows are utilized by a couple of different animals out here on the savanna, like these warthog. Now, warthog do have 2 sets of tusks. They use one of those sets for defending themselves against predators, the other set for digging those burrows. Now those warthog, they are going to back into those burrows, leaving only one side of themselves exposed. Makes it a fair bit harder for predators to get to them. And while those warthog often dig their own burrows, they often choose to instead utilize burrows that other animals have left behind. As we continue on heading forward here, coming up to the right are a couple of ostrich. Now all 3 of these ostrich are female ostrich. Now I know that because they've got brown feathers. Male ostrich are going to have pitch black feathers. Now ostrich have the largest eyes of any land vertebrate, with a singular one of their eyeballs getting up to about 2 inches in diameter. Looks like they were hanging out next to some of their eggs. Ostrich lay their eggs in large piles like that instead of in individual nests because it makes them a lot easier to defend against predators. Now an ostrich egg is pretty strong on its own. An ostrich egg is strong enough to support the weight of a human being without cracking. Full-grown ostrich are equally as impressive. A full-grown ostrich can run at about 40 miles an hour, making them the fastest 2-legged animal on the planet. As we head on into the Magadi Glen here, to the left-hand side is the warden's post. Now the warden does keep goats, and in particular, these are Nigerian dwarf goats. Now they are one of the smaller species of goat, and they do produce an incredibly sweet milk. Not only that, they do produce a pretty large quantity of that milk, given their small stature. Now these goats, they are incredibly playful, and that is going to be the main way in which they learn from each other and establish their hierarchy. Now as we head on forward here, we are going to be pretty quickly approaching the exit of the reserve, meaning that shortly the safari will come to a close. Before it does, I do want to share with you a little bit about some of the struggles the animals out there on the reserve might face in the wild. In particular, I do want to focus on the African elephant and the okapi. Unfortunately, out there in the wild, the elephant and the okapi's habitat are being threatened and destroyed by something called coltan mining. Coltan is a mineral, and it's utilized in the production of electronics to extend battery life. There is something we ourselves can do to help these animals. It involves recycling. In particular, recycling